Today is Good Friday, and that can sound strange because there's nothing easy or comfortable about it. Good Friday is the day that we remember the death of Jesus, not in passing, not as a footnote, but by sitting with it. Because before there's a resurrection, there's a cross. Before there's victory, there's suffering. Before Easter morning, there is a Friday. Good Friday matters because it tells us the truth about the world and about us. It doesn't rush past the pain. It doesn't pretend that brokenness isn't real. It names betrayal, injustice, fear, shame, and loss. And it tells us that God didn't avoid those things. He entered into them. If I'm honest, there are times in my life where I want to skip right past today and I want to go straight to Easter Sunday because I want the hope without having to sit in the pain. And I think that's true for a lot of us, whether faith is familiar to you or this is all pretty new. Jesus wasn't forced to the cross by accident or by surprise. He walked toward it willingly out of love. Love for a world that needed healing. Love for people who couldn't save themselves. Love for you. And if we skip past Good Friday, Easter just becomes a slogan, a celebration without context, hope without cost. But when we take the time to walk through the darkness, through the weight, through the sacrifice, the resurrection becomes more than a story. It becomes good news.
There's a moment in the story of Jesus when everything becomes clear. The gospel tells us that Jesus set his face toward Jerusalem. That phrase matters. It means this wasn't accidental. This wasn't momentum. This wasn't Jesus being swept up by events beyond his control. He chose the road that led to suffering. Jerusalem represented danger, conflict, rejection, and ultimately death. And still, Jesus walked toward it. Most of us try to avoid things that cost us something, especially emotionally. We look for the easier conversation, the quieter exit, the path that asks less of us. This part of the story reminds me that Jesus didn't choose what was easiest. He chose what was loving. 1 John 3:16 states, "This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us." Good Friday reminds us that love, real love, is costly. We often want faith to make life easier, to smooth out the road, to protect us from pain. But Jesus shows us something deeper, that love sometimes means walking directly into the hard thing. Not to glorify suffering, but to redeem it. The cross wasn't a detour from God's plan. It was the plan. And Jesus stepped forward willingly.
On the night before the cross, Jesus didn't give his disciples a speech. He gave them a table, a shared meal, bread and a cup, something really very ordinary. And in that ordinary moment, Jesus spoke words that would echo far beyond that room and that time. He said, "This is my body given for you. This is my blood poured out for many." And what's striking is not just what Jesus said, but when he said it. He knew betrayal was coming. He knew denial was coming. He knew suffering was coming. And still, he chose to sit down with the people that he loved. Communion reminds us that Jesus doesn't wait for us to be ready or worthy. He meets us as we are, at the table. At the table, there was doubt, fear, confusion, and there was grace. If, like me, you didn't grow up going to church, or if communion feels unfamiliar or even a little uncomfortable, this moment isn't about getting it right. It's simply a way that Christians remember Jesus gave his life so people like us could experience forgiveness and a new beginning. This meal wasn't a reward for faithfulness. It was a gift. It's a way for Jesus to say, even when you don't understand, even when you fail, I am still giving myself for you. I want to invite you to prepare your heart for communion. If you feel you're not ready right now, it's okay to sit quietly and reflect. But please know that at this table, you don't need the right words. You don't need to have everything figured out. But as you hold the bread, remember this: his body broken for you. And as you take the cup, remember also his blood poured out for the forgiveness of sins. Take communion when you're ready. If you need to receive grace this Good Friday, receive it. And if you need to give thanks, give thanks.
In the night after the meal, Jesus went out into the night with his disciples. They made their way to a place called Gethsemane, away from the table, away from the noise of the city, and into a place of prayer. And the weight of what was ahead began to press in. Jesus prayed honestly. He didn't pretend the road ahead would be easy, but he brought his sorrow and anguish to the Father. Nearby were his closest friends, Peter, James, and John, the ones who promised they would never leave him, and still they fell asleep. Before the night was over, one would even deny knowing him. And when the moment of arrest came, fear would scatter the rest. If we're honest, that part of the story feels familiar. Most of us know what it's like to want to do the right thing, to mean well, and to still fall short. This moment is not here to shame us. It reminds us that Jesus understands our weakness because he stood right in the middle of it. Good Friday tells us the truth about us. Left on our own, we fall short. And yet Jesus remained faithful. He stayed. Not because the people around him were strong, but because his love was.
He was despised and rejected by men. Accused and condemned, Jesus stands silent as lies are spoken. He is mocked, beaten, humiliated, and eventually he is led to death on a cross. The cross was designed to shame, to erase dignity, to make suffering public, and Jesus, Son of God, does not resist it. He carries not only the weight of the cross, but the weight of sin, brokenness, and injustice. Now, if the word sin feels heavy or difficult, it's because it speaks to something real within all of us. God's creation, made to reflect him, was damaged when we began living outside of God's design. But the cross tells us that Jesus took that damage, the sin of humanity, seriously enough to wear it himself. When Jesus speaks from the cross, his words are not bitter. They are not vengeful. It is finished. These are the words of redemption. The cross is where love absorbs the worst of humanity and refuses to return it.
After the cross, there is silence. The noise fades, the crowd disperses, the sky grows dark. It can feel like the story has ended. But Good Friday doesn't end in despair. It ends in surrender. Because of the cross, there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Forgiveness can be one of the hardest ideas to believe, especially if you're used to earning your way back, proving yourself, or carrying regret for a long time. The claim of Good Friday is this: forgiveness isn't something you work up to, it's something Jesus offers. Again, for there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. In the midst of suffering, the good news is this: He who had no sin became a sin offering for us so that we might be right with God once again. When you leave today, don't leave the story behind. Good Friday prepares us for Easter, for hope that rises out of death, for the light that overcomes darkness. But for now, let the cross be enough. On your way out, grab a tag, write these words: "My name is, and my sins are forgiven." Take your time, then leave your tag on the cross. Leave what you've been carrying there, not to pick it back up later, but to trust that it's been taken. Today, the work is done, the waiting begins. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Sunday is just a few days away. We'll see you then.